Welcome to the second lecture of the machine settings, the second part. We've discussed earlier in the first part the B mode. So let's remember together what we have discussed earlier to refresh. Okay, in order to do the Doppler examination, okay, we have to deal with three set of settings. First, the B mode. Okay, this is your first preliminary ultrasound picture, and knowing how to set this is very beneficial in all types of ultrasound examinations. Okay, and secondly, we had the color mode. Okay, and thirdly, we had the pulse wave. Okay, what we have discussed is the B mode. Now, what was that? Let's remember together. We had this little mnemonic, what runs in our blood, that is the RBC, but instead of the C, we will put the D for Doppler. Now, what are these things? First, the depth. Now we have to adjust the depth itself so that the center of our vision is the object of interest. And then, okay, the zoom function. Okay, zooming in whatever structure we want, and then the wide view. When we activate this function, we can see something in its continuity. Okay, so that's the depth. Then the brightness or the gain. We have the gain itself or the overall gain. We have the TGC, also the gain, but here sector by sector in your image. And something very interesting, the dynamic range or the contrast. So that was the brightness. Lastly, the resolution, and we can control this by the frequency. This is of special importance. So we are going to discuss something similar. Frequency and the focal zone or your focus, should you want one or two, where you want to put it. And lastly, some other things like tissue harmonic imaging and others. You have to turn it on for better image. So that was the B mode, and we finished that. Okay, so today we're going to discuss the remaining two set of settings, the color mode and the pulse mode. So let's start right away. Okay. So now we will begin with the color mode. Okay, here is where we are. We've discussed the B mode, okay, by this knob. It also controls the gain, okay, and now the color and the pulse wave. In this machine, they're like this rotatory knobs that will get you into a screen with more details. Okay. Okay, so here we have the frequency, the scale, many functions that we're going to discuss later after explaining them. Okay. So now here is our infamous list. This is what we have finished, the B mode, and now is the color mode. Now, just as promised, we're going to help you to memorize this. In the B mode, we had this little mnemonic, again, the RBD. So what about the color mode? Here we have another mnemonic that is two S's, that's steer and scale that is also the BRF or the velocity. And we have here the gain, and we're going to give it an I for increase or decrease the gain. and we have the invert. So we have two S's and two I's. You can remember this by the mnemonic Isis. Now, if you don't know what Isis is an Egyptian goddess, and this is her picture. Isis got very interesting story. Isis comes from the Egyptian mythology, and that is the mythology is the science of myth. That's the legends. It's very interesting and funny sometimes to know, like the Greek mythology. Here, the story of Isis is about this goddess that has her husband murdered by his brother, the evil brother Set, and her husband was Osiris. Now, Osiris was not just murdered, but slaughtered into 42 pieces. You can imagine this. That's because Egypt at this time has 42 governorates. So Set didn't just murder him, but he put every part of him in each governorate in order to make his simply impossible. But Isis, it seems to be that she really loved her husband, and this is not so very rare. So she gathered all of his parts, the 42 parts, with the help of her son, that is Horus. And Horus is very, very famous in the Egyptology. He's got his eye, Horus, which is the eye of medicine, by the way, just like radiology. And they gathered these 42 pieces and managed to resurrect Osiris. So this is the story, a very short brief on the story of Isis, our mnemonic for the color mode. So let's remember the color mode by Isis: the steer, the scale, increase or decrease the gain, and the invert. Now, let's take them one by one. Firstly, the steer. What is the steer? The steer is like this. This is the part of the ship where you navigate your ship. This is like Captain Jack Sparrow. Now, what we are actually going to navigate in our ultrasound, we're going to navigate the ultrasound beam. Now, why would we want to do this? Okay, here we will revise something in the physics, and that's really important that we've discussed before in physics. That is why we have to do steer in the first place. Okay, so imagine that this is your rope, okay, and you've got this vessel, right? So the direction of blood in this vessel, let's say, is like this. So if the ultrasound beam is like this, it will create an angle with the direction of blood that's right angle. Now, this kind of angle does not produce the Doppler, so does not produce color. So we don't want this. So what do we want? We want to create an angle that's near the zero. Now, we've said in order to create the best angle, the solution is to cut the patient's arm or leg, depending on the vessels you want to examine, and to put the Doppler like this. Here, the direction of the blood would be directly facing the probe, giving you the best angle ever. But cutting the patient's arm or leg is very, very, very drastic. So in order to do something a little less drastic and more practical, now we have to produce a stair by other way, don't you see? So how can we produce this stair? Okay, here is the vessel as such. Here is the direction of the blood. We can do this by manually steering your rope, okay? So here the direction of the ultrasound beam will be like this. So create an angle with the direction of the blood that's less than 90. Okay, it's acceptable this way. Should it be like this or like this? And of course, the more it comes in continuity with the direction of the blood near the angle of zero, the better. Now there is another way. How is that? Okay, again, there is the direction of the blood and there is the probe. We will produce steer not by manually moving the probe, because it depends on the operator. Now the machine will do the steering of the ultrasound beam. So instead of it comes like this, it will come in direction. As such, your color box would be tilted, steered, because the ultrasound beam has been steered. Now, in this situation, where is your probe? Now, it is absolutely important to know where is the probe in order to determine whether the blood is coming towards or away. Now, in order to know this, we have agreed before that we will imagine the virtual probe where we will imagine that there are 4 points here. Okay, these are the 4 points of your steering box or your color box. And okay, we will draw 2 lines coming from the upper angles as such. Now, the line that's outside your box here is the one in the side of the probe. So your virtual probe, voila, is here. So the direction of the blood, if it is coming this way, it will be towards the probe. If it is the reverse, it would be away from the probe. And of course, we would know towards or away from the color box, as we would see. Okay, so this is just a very quick recap on the physical basis of this. Now here in this line, now here, did we produce good angle here? Check this angle. It's almost right. Why is that? Because the steer here and the direction of the blood has created this. So yes, there is a steer, but the steer here is not sufficient to produce the angle that we want. So what we will do, we will move it here as such. Voila. So here the steering angle is more in continuity with the direction of the blood. It's not 90. So we have here the Doppler, we have here the color. Okay. Again, here we have a very nice example. Okay. Here the probe is as such and your color box here. Now here the color is bad because there is no steering. Now here we made steer either this way or the other, doesn't matter. The important thing that there is an angle that would create the Doppler or the color effect. Now let's see, where is your probe? Let's apply this. Okay, now this is your steering box. Now if we drew, as we just agreed, 2 lines. Here is the first and there is the second. Now this is the line outside, so your virtual probe is here. Now, is this direction of the blood towards or away? How to know this? Voila. Check your color map or your color bar. Now, if it is towards the probe, it will be above the baseline, regardless of the color, because sometimes it might not be red. It's not always red. Okay, so it's important that you know that above the baseline, that's towards your probe. Away from the probe, that is the below the baseline. Okay, so here the color is red, so it is towards your probe. So the direction of the blood is as such. Let's check it here. Okay, where is your probe? Where is the probe? Voila, here is the line outside your box, so the virtual probe is here. Is the blood towards or away? Check the color box or the color map or the color bar. Now here, the color of the blood is blue, so it is away. See, it's the same direction. So doesn't matter, is it red or blue? It doesn't matter. Why? Because what does matter is the direction of the blood according to the color bar. And by the way, you can change this as we would know later. So it's really, really important to know the steer, because this is how you can produce a good angle and produce the good color in your result. Okay, so let's see an application here. Okay, here it is the same vessel, but by changing the angle of the steer, it can be red or blue. This doesn't matter. What matters is that you see the good color. Here you can hardly see any color. Okay, let's see. Ah, voila. When there is no steering, you can hardly see any color. Let's check it again. Okay. Here when the steer, one sec. Okay. Okay, so here again, we draw the line here. So your probe is here. Direction of the blood is where it's towards, because it is above the baseline and it is red. Okay, now let's see. It is as such. Now, voila, when we have changed the angle as such, now where is the probe here? Okay, where is the probe? The angle of the steer is changed, so your probe is here now. And the blood is what? Blue, so it moves away. Again, the color of blood is the same. So the color doesn't matter. The color changes with the direction of your steer, okay? Of your steer. So it can be blue, can be red. Okay, here. As such. But voila, when there is no steering, there is hardly any color. Okay, so that's the steer finished. Back to the list. In the color mode, we have the ISIS, the steer, the scale, and the gain. Now comes to the scale, the BRF, or the velocity. What are these? Okay, now we've said earlier that there is the frequency and there is the pulse repetition frequency. Now, what is the difference between these? Now, let's remember something. Okay, in order to explain this, okay, we'll do something. All right, I want you really to concentrate hard. And if you didn't really have your coffee, just grab your coffee and okay, concentrate as much as you can. Now, what we have here is the scale, also known as pulse repetition frequency, also known as velocity. So, in order to explain this, let's imagine, I warn you, I'm not really the best one to draw, really. So just you have to bear with me my comical drawings. So this is a gun. Just try and imagine that this is a gun. Okay, and this gun, okay, fires bullets. So the gun fire bullets. Would you name this a continuous wave or pulsed wave? Yeah, pulsed wave. Okay. So what is the pulse repetition frequency? It is the rate of bullets fired by this gun. Okay. Then what about the frequency? I told you before that we will once again relate to the frequency. The frequency is the power of each bullet to penetrate the body. That's to say the waves. Okay. Whether it is 3 megahertz, 7 megahertz, whatever, 10 megahertz, whatever. So this is your frequency. So the rate of the bullets is the pulse repetition frequency, also known as the scale, the velocity by which this gun fires, and the frequency is the force, let's say, of penetration of each of these bullets. Okay, so this gun, okay, let's imagine that We're firing towards a vessel where there is rabid RBCs. Okay, these are rabid RBCs. So would you rather have the bullets you fire rapid or slow? You want these bullets to aim towards those RBCs and to catch them, to capture them, to picture them. Okay, so would you rather them be as fast as they are, to be fast as well, or slow? Well, we would want them to be fast too, so that they can each capture those RBCs and okay, capture them. All right. But if you have your gun, okay, emitting slow bullets, and the RBCs are such, so just one as such, it will fail to capture those RBCs. In order to imagine this, just remember something that we used to play a game on the mobile, that is the game where you use a shooting gun, okay, in order to shoot some game birds, for example, or when you used to see the old English movies where the landlord used to have his gun with his butler and tell him, where is my game birds? And sometimes they do set free certain game birds or ducks or wild ducks or whatever, in order to make the landlord amuse himself by shooting them, or pigeons, whatever. So what they do, okay, this shooting gun, if the birds are flying very, very rapid, so naturally you would have your gun faster. That's to say, you would increase the velocity in order to capture these fast birds. But if they are slow, then you would slow down the rate in order to capture them. Let's take the example into another level that's more similar to our situation. Okay, if there is your probe here, and there is the blood vessel, okay, and here is your RBC. What's the singular? Corpuscle, yeah, the red blood corpuscle, because it is not really a cell. So here you'd emit the ultrasound, okay. If the RBCs here, the corpuscle here, is very fast, it would move as such, okay, here, and it will return the wave here outside of your rope, so you will not capture it. So this is what happens when your RBCs is too fast. Okay, and your BRF is low. Okay, what happens when your probe here, and that is your vessel, and this is the RBCs, and your RBF, your BRF, is very fast. So it would come like this here. This is a wave, this is a wave, this is a wave, while the RBC is still in its place. So the ultrasound wave will be returned from the same place. So the probe will interpret this RBC as not moving, as stationary. But it's not stationary, it moves, but with slower speed or slower velocity than the BRF. Okay, so what should we do? What should we do? We should adjust the BRF to the velocity of the blood, so that it's not too fast and it is not too slow. Here it was, the RBCs was too fast, and here the RBCs or the blood was too slow. So we have to adjust it in order to make it equivalent or balanced or related to the velocity, so that we can capture it as such. Here is your probe, and here is the vessel. Okay, so let's say that there is the ultrasound beam as such, and there is the RBCs. Okay, it will move as such and return the wave here. Now the probe will be able to see that the RBCs has moved and towards the probe. So it can detect the movement and the direction. This is what we want. Why? Because here the BRF was equivalent or was convenient to the velocity of the blood. Okay, so here we can detect the movement, the direction, the color when we adjust the BRF according to the velocity of the blood. Okay, so it's important that we adjust the BRF. Now let's see an example in the real ultrasound. Now here, first things first, let's apply what we've learned. What is this? This is the color map. Okay, this is the color map or the color bar, and the color here red, that is towards the probe, the color blue below the baseline, that's out, that's away from the probe. Now what about the velocities? The nearer to the baseline, that's the slower, and the further, as such as in the light red or the yellow, is the faster, and here the same. Okay, but away from the probe. Okay, what is this number? This is the maximum velocity, or this is the scale that we're going to set according, of course, to each vessel. All right, so here so here the color in this vessel is what? Let's see how it is depicted on the color map. It is almost dark red, so that would tell us that the velocity here of the blood is around the middle of 30. That would give us like 15 centimeter per second, so it lies around in here. Okay, so what will happen when we change the scale or the velocity or the BRF, say here around 500? So what will happen? This would mean that velocities near 250, 125, that would be hover near the middle of your bar. Okay, so the dark red here or the red here would velocities would be around 200, 250, such. And toward the more we get downwards here near the baseline, these are the slower velocities, with the slowest like 50 to be depicted by color. Here that we've already stated in this image that the velocity of the blood here in the portal around 15. So where that would be here in such chart, it would be very, very low, near the baseline, almost black as such, so you can hardly see any color here. Does this mean that there is no flow in here? This mean that there is no velocity here? There is, but the fact of the matter is that it is very low for the scale. It is very low for the scale to be depicted. Remember when we said that the RBCs were moving, but the BRF was very high, so it could detect them as stationary. Why? Because it is too high in relation to the velocity of the blood in the vessel. So setting this right will give you the right and correct color according to the velocity of the blood. So we have to adjust the BRF according to the velocity of the blood in the vessel. Okay, so let's have a real example. Okay. just a sec here. Let's get those away. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here we have this color. Okay, okay, so let's break down this video. Okay, okay. Here the velocity is 3. Okay, we assume that here the velocity is 40, this vessel. Okay, so when the scale of the BRF was adjusted to 3, what will happen? We'll have a myriad of color, an Elias, because the velocity here would make rounds such, because it will finish here and start again from below and again and again and again and Elias, because the velocity of the blood here is 40. So it will start in here, okay, and here and here and here, produce this intense Elias. Okay, it is too fast for this BRF. Okay, so let's see. Now changing BRF. Okay, let's continue. Here, oh, to 28, and then to 40. Here. Okay. Let's just take it back. Okay. Here, 28. 28, what happens? The blood, we said that is 40. So yeah, it will finish here and start from below, but just part of it. So the center would be very rapid. Normally the center is more rapid than the periphery. So the center will acquire the color blue from below, while the periphery would acquire the color red, being slower. Let's continue. Okay, when it is 50, okay, calm down. Okay, let's see it again. Here, when it is 3. Here, when it is 58, it is 58. The color would be dark red just in the middle, because it's already 40. So where the color would lie, like in here, we would have no blue whatsoever. Again, the best when it is 40, because this is the real velocity, and we will have all grades of red. Let's see. Well, where is the 40? Okay. And again, it's repeating. Okay, now the next slide is going to be more clear. Okay, here it is 40, voila. Here we have all grades of red with no blues. Okay, now this is what the BRF does, or the velocity. It shows the variation of the speed inside the vessel. Okay, so let's see. This example is very, very important. This is the detailed explanation of the video you've already seen. We're going to analyze it, okay? And this is really, really, really very important. This is going to teach you how to adjust your color, how to control your color. This is very important. Okay, so in these 5, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in these 5 scenarios, the vessel is the same and the velocity is 40. Now let's see. So we'll try now different BRFs in order to know how to calibrate it the right way. Now we have here, as we said, all the same vessel, all with velocity of 40, and we know that the highest velocity lies in the middle, where the periphery will be a little bit lower, like say 30 or something. Okay, let's see. Now the first scenario here, we have velocity, we have set the BRF or the velocity to 10. So what will happen? We have a velocity of 40. So the blood would acquire red and then blue and then red and then blue, it will produce Eliase because it is too fast. It is too fast for our BRF. So it will produce like two-fold or two rounds on the color bar to acquire its velocity. Okay, so it will produce this Eliase. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Okay, now what will happen then? We would increase the BRF or the velocity or the scale a little bit into 20. So what will happen? The blood would be here 20. It will fill in this bar, and then it will turn into the blue, 20 here and 20 there. That will give us the 40. So it will do like one fold. So we'll have the blue in the middle being the fastest with the red in the periphery, but it will do one complete fold or one complete round in the blue. So we'll have all grades of blue here. Okay, because the velocity is near two folds the BRF. Okay, so let's see our third scenario. Okay, we've increased the BRF little into 30. So what will happen? Here the color would be all grades of red, and then we'll turn from below in order to acquire the remaining 10 into roughly 1/3 of your color bar below the baseline. So it is this scenario where we have the grids of red in the periphery, where in the middle part with the highest velocity acquiring only the light blue, whilst here when it was only 20 we have all grades of blue. Here we have only the lightest of blues, denoting the fastest speed only in the lower part here. Okay, this is when the speed was 30. So when we increase the BRF a little, this is what happened. Okay, so we have here better differentiation, but still we can do better. Voila. Now we have here the velocity of 40. So what will happen now? Now this is this scenario. The velocity of the blood, as we have agreed, is also 40. So it will not turn. We will not choose any part of the color map below the baseline. So we only have just the grades of red here. The grades of red, with the center acquiring what color? The lightest of red, nearly yellow, as such, with no turning, with no other colors from the part below the baseline. So let's see what will happen when we increase the BRF even more into 50. So what will happen? This is above the velocity, so it will only fill like this. We will not reach the part with the lightest red. It will be only dark red with no grades of red. So which one gives us the best appreciation of the different velocities of the blood vessel? Here we have Eliase. This is not good. And here we have Eliase 2. Okay, here we can differentiate, but still there is little Eliase inside, so it is not good. Here we don't have any Eliase, and I can appreciate the different grades of red according to the different velocities in the blood vessel. So this is the best. Here I can tell that it is only way or towards, how to know? This is the imaginary line outside, and so I would have my probe in here, and the blood is above the baseline, so it is towards the probe. So here I can say that there is color flow and it is towards me, but it is nearly homogeneous with no color variations equivalent to the different velocities. So no, it's not the best either. So the best is this scenario where I can see the color flow, determine the direction, and also the variation on the velocities. So this is the function of the BRF, or the velocity, that it can tell you the direction of the blood and the velocity, the different velocities inside the blood vessel. Okay, so it is really important to adjust the velocity or the scale or the BRF in order to know direction of your blood and the color flow, and also the variation of the velocities inside. So this is very important example that we have discussed. Now here, so again here what we have ileus inside the blood vessel. So that will tell us that here this ileus inside the vessel is related to what? To our scale here, because there is the shade or the grades of red and also the lower part of the blue, just the lower part. So the velocity here would be what? Would be a little bit higher than this, not double fold, because if it was double fold, we would have seen all the grades of blue. Here we have only the lightest of blue. Okay, so this needs to what? To do what? We have to increase the BRF or the scale a little bit to be adjusted in order to see only the grades of red without ileus inside the vessel. Okay, we have here an example. Okay, so let's take this example. Here this vessel is towards the probe, because this kind of vessel we don't need to do the steer because its direction is already in the right direction. So here, what is the velocity of blood in this vessel? Okay, here it is near all of the dark red. Now let's check the color map. Here the BRF or the velocity is just 230, and we have here all the color dark. So the velocity of the blood here is around here, and it is really around 10. Okay, so in this image I can detect the direction towards the probe and the velocity of the blood. What happens when the BRF or the scale is set to 2.3, only 2.3? This is too low, so I have ileusing colors like 2 folds or even 3 folds or even more. Okay, inside the vessel. So always when the velocity is in the fold, the ileus would be inside. Remember this. Okay, so here what BRF is too low, so we have this ileus. Now what happens here? Here we have BRF of 69, so this is too high. It's too high for the velocity that we already know, that's around 10. So it's near the baseline. It's almost black because it is too low for this BRF. So when we don't see any color as such, it's a good idea to think about decreasing your BRF, as we'll see later. Okay, let's move on. So we have now finished the steer and the scale, also known as the BRF or the velocity. Okay, so now the gain. The gain of the color, it controls the intensity of the color in the whole of the color box. Unlike the gain in the Bay mode, it controls the brightness and the darkness, of course, being only in the grayscale. Here we have the myriad of colors, and the gain controls the intensity of color, but not something, as I've just said, that it controls the color in the whole of your color box as such, not just in your blood vessel. Okay, so let's see how it works in this video. Okay, voila. Okay, here we're starting to adjust the gain. At first there is a liaise inside and outside, then we gradually decrease it until it just fills the blood vessel, and that would be it. Okay, okay, all right. Here, notice here that the BRF is constant here in all of the three images. Okay, however, there is change in the color. Now, why is that? This is change is due to the gain. And as you can see, when the gain here is too high, the color flow is all in your color box, not just in the vessel. So what to do? We decrease the gain gradually until it just fills the blood vessel, and that will be it. Okay, then it is okay and it is very good, and we can furthermore control the grades of the color inside with the BRF, as we just discussed earlier, how we can do this. Okay, according to the velocity, of course, in the blood vessel. Here the gain is low, and that's why the color flow is scanty. It's not filling the vessel sufficiently. So what to do? We increase the gain until there is this Elias, and then we start to gradually decrease it until it's just in the vessel. And to remind you that here the BRF is constant. These changes is due to the gain, not the BRF. Each one of them works something different. Okay, here is another example. This is very important. When you find that when you start to turn your color Doppler on, and then you find this situation that there is no color flow or no sufficient color flow in your blood vessel, how to deal? Okay, you have two possibilities. Either the velocity in this blood vessel is low in comparison with the BRF in the settings. Okay, so the machine does not read it. It reads it as if it's stationary, although it is present. So what to do then? We will decrease the BRF, okay, in order for it to be convenient with the velocity of the blood. Or it might be that the color intensity in general is low, so we have to increase the gain. Then we have two possibilities why there is no color flow here in your color box. And what to do? I would suggest that you at first increase your gain, all right, until there is color flow inside and outside like this. There is this Elias, and then you start to gradually decrease it until the color flow is just in your blood vessel. Then you do what? You start to decrease the BRF until there is sufficient variations in the color to match the velocities, as we've said earlier. Okay, to show you the variation in the velocity inside the vessel. All right, so this is what we can do in this situation. Voila. Now we see there is here little gain. We increase it until there is Elias, and always remember that the gain increases the color in all of your color box, not just inside the vessel, all of the color box, whilst the BRF, or the velocity, controls the color inside the vessel, right? Inside the vessel only. Here we have these two examples. In the upper row, we are changing the gain. In the lower row, the changes here in the BRF. Okay, so again. When we have this little color flow, what to do? We would increase the gain, and then we start to gradually decrease it until there is sufficient color in the blood vessel. Okay, and then we start to control the BRF in order to have it filled properly with the color, all grades of red as such, in order to see the variation in the color. All right, what if the situation is like this. We have Elias, but inside the blood vessel only. Here, who is to blame? The BRF. And as we can see, when there is too much color inside the vessel, this means what? That the BRF is low. It's quite the reverse. Too much color inside, it means that the BRF is too low. So what to do? Increase your BRF as such. When there is too much color inside and outside, this means what? That the gain is too high. It is the reverse. When there's too much color inside and outside, the gain is too high. Then what to do? Decrease your gain. And voila. This is how you can control your color, all right? By knowing the different functions. Now you're starting to talk Doppler. Okay. Here, I'm gonna ask you in these little situations how to deal. Now, if you see this, what to do, give you a second to think. Absolutely correct. You're right. Here there is too much color. There is aliasing, but it's not confined to the vessel. It is inside and outside. So I would do what? I would increase the gain? No, I would decrease the gain. Voila. Okay, so here we would do what? We would decrease the gain. Voila. Bravo. Decrease the gain. Okay. Bravo. Next. Here, what to do? You have what? Here we have variation, intense variation. We have what we call Elias inside the blood vessel. So here, who is to blame here? Inside, so it is the BRF. Okay. So this means there is too much color. You have to do what? Bravo. Absolutely correct. You're starting to get your neck over the Doppler. Bravo. It is the BRF. Okay. So now we finished this tier, the scale, and the gain. Remember the ISIS remains just the invert. The invert here is a symbol function actually. It's just how you prefer to see the vessel. As you can see here, it is, I don't know, it is here the same vessel, okay? The direction of the blood is what? Is it towards or away? Here it is, check your color box. Here the blue is above the baseline. As we many people are used to, the red is always above, it is towards the probe. So if you prefer to see it this way, just do it this way, but just pay attention that someone might have inverted your colors. Okay, so you might see the portal like this and you think that something is wrong, but then you have to check the color box always, the color map or the color bar. Okay, because here the two words is actually blue. So if the situation is like this, simply deactivate the invert function or return the color, however your machine, how it is labeled, how it works in your machine. Just deactivate this inverting function, okay, and it would return like this. It's just a matter of how you prefer to see the colors, but it does not really make a difference as such. Here the blood vessel, this blood vessel is the same, okay, it is the same direction, but here the red is above the baseline and here the blue is above the baseline. It does not matter, it's just pay attention to this so as not to be confused, okay, because you might just want it to or you are used to certain setting, all right, set it the way you like, but pay attention that it might be inverted. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the blood vessel, it's just the inversion function. Voila, now we have finished the color mode. Congratulations. Remains the spectral Doppler. All set.